Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. Happy New Year and welcome back, everybody.
Yes, Happy New Year.
We are now tuned in to High at 9 News. Thank you all for joining us, not only to get High at 9 once again, but also high noon on the East Coast. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street, and it's Monday, January 2nd, 2023. Today is National Thank God It's Monday Day because Satan's to blame for Sundays. National Buffet Day because a great deal always beats a New Year's resolution. And World Introvert Day because they always want all the damn attention. For everybody out there watching, please remember to like, share, and smack that subscribe button up a little bit so you can follow High at 9 News on all social media platforms. We're live on weekdays on YouTube and Twitch, audio only on Clubhouse. But if you do choose the Clubhouse route, you can always participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story presented. We'll be getting things started in just a second, but first we have a message from our sponsors.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit and hustle and diversity of our great city of Angels, and we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Up first, we got the longest continuously operating retailer in the game, always smoking on the best weed in the world. Down in Florida is by the Mar-a-Lago staff. They know him as Gucci Blanco. If he's out in Detroit, it's white Gucci. But if you catch this man walking around asking questions about why Southwest Airlines is now charging bag fees, you know who it is. It is the man himself, the ivory to my ebony, Mr. Jason Beck.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Rico. Happy New Year, everybody. It's great to see everybody. Glad you all rolled in with us and are celebrating 2023. It is now Michael Jordan's official year. And my story today comes out of Kentucky, you guys. That's right, because Governor Beshear's executive order takes effect today as marijuana activists push for more reform. The governor put pen to paper back in November, and as of Sunday, the ink dried on his new executive order. If you meet a few requirements and one of 21 medical conditions, you can now legally possess cannabis in the state of Kentucky. In a quote, that is having under 8 ounces, that is having proof that it's been purchased legally in a state where it's legal, Governor Beshear said in an interview on Wednesday at the state capitol. Earlier this week, Governor Beshear laid out the potential positives that medical marijuana could have in the Commonwealth. It can be a veteran suffering from PTSD, said Governor Beshear. It can be a family member suffering from epilepsy. And these aren't stories, they are realities, he says. Robert Mathieu owns CBD Pharmacy. I'm sorry, that just sounds all kinds of bad. And is pleased by the order, but says it comes with some complications. There's a lot of doctors starting today that can recommend medical marijuana, Matheny said. Some of these doctors don't even know how to use it. Matheny says that the order left gray areas in the terms of what forms of marijuana can be possessed and how the law will be applied moving forward. On top of that, the order may face legal challenges from the Attorney General, Daniel Cameron. Matthew's focus, as we move into the new year and towards a new legislative session, Matthew's focus has also moved to getting the plant legalized for sale within the state. He serves as a board member of the Kentucky Cannabis Freedom Coalition and says that he will be filing a bill with a Kentucky lawmaker to try and put that discussion into Kentuckians' hands so more Kentuckians can make the decision to get their hands on marijuana as a medication. This is to amend the Kentucky Constitution to allow Kentuckians to vote on cannabis for themselves, said Mathieu. We can't keep asking legislators to do this. We need a second option, he says. So it sounds to me like Kentuckians, you guys are going to get a ballot measure coming up pretty soon, but I'm not sure if your state constitution actually even allows for that. So I'm not sure how much that is a reality. And I also question the fact of the governor's ability to actually do this. And I think that the attorney general is probably going to put a big kibosh on it. But I'm going to digress and see what y'all have to say. And this is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all say?
At least he's on record pushing it forward.
I mean, I think it's great that he is pushing forward and that he is doing this. I do think that it's going to result in a lot of legal complications, and it might actually harm some patients because they may not have the legal resources to actually give themselves a qualifying lawyer or something, you know what I mean, that can actually defend them in a case like that.
Right.
What do you think?
I'm still
Gretchen?
stuck on the word Kentuckian. I don't know why that word is sticking in my head so much, but Kentuckian is making me laugh a little today.
Kentuckians.
It sounds dirty.
Kentuckians. This is about the story that you reported on the other day, Gretchen.
Right, I get it. So what lawsuits do you expect to come from this that's going to hurt patients? What are you?
I expect that there's going to be a patient that gets caught up with marijuana, all right, and then has a receipt from another state and has packaging from another state, and Kentucky law enforcement is still going to arrest this person, and the attorney general is going to press charges because they can prove that it violates federal law because it's crossed the interstate line. And I don't think that patient is going to be able to afford their legal fees. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree, Chris? Law enforcement agrees with me.
No, law enforcement. Wait a minute, Chris Eggers. Did you watch Friday's show where my story was about this, but it was also about how the governor had been giving special directives and informing law enforcement on how to deal with this. So if you are a law enforcement officer in Kentucky, would you say, screw the governor, fuck what he says, and go and do what you want and still arrest people?
I know a lot of law enforcement that would say that. And because they would feel as though that the attorney general is on their side and they're going to back them up, and that's really their boss, not the governor.
Oh, I like Nick Bradley. He's now my new favorite troll out there. State police can't enforce federal law, Jason.
Yeah, they can.
What about the sheriffs? Because the elected sheriffs only answer to the Constitution.
Kentucky has state. I believe in Kentucky, it's a state trooper that they have. It's a statewide police system.
They don't have county. They don't have county sheriffs. And
I'm not sure.
That's said that. I don't know if a lot of people know that. You know, they look at law enforcement as one agency. The chief of police makes a rule, then they look at a sheriff, office. They look at that, and a lot of people don't know. Thank you for bringing it up. That the sheriffs, operate way differently. Even today in California, given that their boss is an elected official,
they do not have to answer to Gavin Newsom.
That's right. That's right. What are you gonna say about that, Gretchen?
I disagree. And I would say, and I would ask Chris Eggers, do law enforcement really care to make an enemy out of the governor over something so trivial as something which he has said, don't pick up a medical patient for bringing cannabis into the state?
I think what would be really helpful here is an absolute directive similar to what New York NYPD did, where they say, hey, we're not going to enforce this. And that's coming from somebody within their chain of command that they're used to seeing, in that case, the chief of police. So, I don't know. I would argue that, a bunch of cops anywhere aren't totally sure about the chain of command outside of their own organization. So I don't know if they would know to listen or not listen or not. or care
Well,
to.
I would hope so, because the governor said that he was giving them even little cards that they could carry around so they know how to deal with medical patients coming into their state. So, frankly, I think that the governor is putting his weight behind it. Jason, I'd be surprised. I might even be willing to make a bet, even though
let's make a bet.
you refuse to put money on anything or actually pay out your bets. I don't know.
I do pay my bets. I'm actually getting ready to mail your stuff out in the mail. I would be mailing it. I would be mailing your $100 to you today.
You should be
Okay,
mailing me $200.
but for some reason today's a federal holiday, and I don't even understand that because yesterday was New Year's Day.
Because you have to celebrate New Year's Day on a day to give people the day off. So that's why they move it.
Ridiculous.
Anyway, I'll make a bet with you, Jason Beck.
All right, what's
and
the bet?
I have to put a timeline on this because we can't go forever on this. So I'm saying within the first quarter, in the first 3 months, no Kentucky police officer is going to arrest a medical patient that we hear about.
I would ask for the first 6 months, but I would take your first 3 months, but I would ask for the first 6 months.
All right, I'll give you 6 months.
All right.
Double or nothing.
Double or nothing. So are we betting $100 or $200 on this?
$200.
$200 that there is one person that's a medical patient that tries this and gets arrested and gets prosecuted.
Right. I know.
I'm saying that won't happen.
And you're saying it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
How are you going to collect this? How are you going to collect these monies, Gretchen?
At some point, I will go out to LA and break some knees if I have to.
Oh,
boy.
Yeah.
But
I know people. The chat already thinks you're going to lose this bet, Gretchen.
Oh, well, they think you're not going to pay me, so I might as well just lose it.
That's funny. Everyone knows I pay my bets.
But these state laws, though, man. State by state law, and everybody wants to say states' rights, everything. This is what happened with slavery. You know that shit, right? Same exact fucking thing.
What's that?
Why you gotta
it's
go
not
there,
legal.
you know?
It's not legal in our state. I don't care if it's federally legal. It's not legal in our state. You can continue being a slave. Don't cross that line.
Ooh, wow.
That's why states' rights are states' rights.
Interesting. What do you mean, Nick? That's not a $200 bet? We just bet $200.
I don't know.
I'm confused.
Let's keep it rolling.
I'm confused by that, Nicholas. But nonetheless, we're gonna keep it moving. Thank you guys for entertaining me on that story today, and I do think.
And I think you need to pay your debts on the show so people can see.
I don't pay anything. I don't pay anything online. Gretchen will get it in the mail, and then I'm gonna probably write on it, just like, "Hey, Gretchen, here's from Jason, da 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 da," and then that way she can throw it on there and be like, "See, this $100 bill came from Jason." She'll be so excited.
I will be more than happy to
she's
show
probably gonna go buy a bunch of outdoor booth.
200.
100.
200. You forgot
there
the
was
part
a mass
of it.
part. No. We're doing a poll for that one. We're doing a poll for that one because Oregon had a mass pardon. That's what they called it. Even the governor called it and was quoted in a paper saying that in a press conference.
The governor is stupid doesn't mean that she's right. Expungements aren't pardons.
Don't you think that this? Don't you think that would apply to this? Just because the governor is overreaching, you don't call that the same thing?
I didn't say that she was overreaching. I think she's misinformed on her legal terminese.
But my point is that don't you think Governor Beshear is misinformed as to what he can actually do?
What?
You don't think Governor Beshear is actually misinformed into what he actually can do? I don't think he has the power to direct law enforcement to not prosecute.
I think he absolutely can. I mean, we've seen this with Rohrabacher Farr. I think
that's an appropriations bill. That's totally different. That's not even the same thing as this.
Exactly, but they're telling people not to mess with medical states. That's what Rohrabacher Farr does. And frankly, and Chris, back me up if I'm completely wrong, fine. But is not the governor in charge of law enforcement in his state? Can he not give directives to law enforcement and say, I'm declaring that martial law, for example? Things happen. The governor does have some authority, Jason.
Hold on. Martial law. First of all, martial law can only happen when there's a breakdown in the entire justice system, and there is no justice system in place.
That's what I want to see. I want to see some martial law enforcing these.
Oh God! Here, hold on, Chris. Chris, what do you have to say about this, Chris?
How can there be any justice if it's just us?
Again, you got to keep it real simple for working law enforcement. Okay. And that directive, I think, needs to come from whoever the top, dog is in their organization.
But wouldn't that be the attorney general? Wouldn't that be the attorney general?
Within their organization? You know, dude, a lot of cops don't know what an attorney general
So
is.
you're saying whoever's in charge of the state patrol?
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
I'm saying
Well,
within
if
their
he's
own
in-
organization, chief of police, boom. You know, because again, I mean, you know, well, that's all I'll say.
Who's the boss of the attorney general? The governor.
Not, I mean, I don't know.
Look,
I would beg to differ on
next
that.
story. Move along.
I beg to differ on that. I beg to differ on that. I beg to differ on that. I don't think the attorney general has a boss. Attorney generals do what they want to do
kidding me?
because they
He's
are
part
the
of the
purview
cabinet.
of the law. They're the purview of the law.
Oh my God! Let's go
Look at
back
our-
to civics class 101.
Look at our Justice Department right now. They just do whatever the hell they want right now. What you get? Oh yeah, that's right. Coming up next, it is the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte. When he's not celebrating New Year's with his little one, keeping her up all night, giving her all kinds of candy and sugar, you can find him trying to take cat naps on the couch because he's just too damn tired. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
Happy New Year, everybody. My headline of the day is from San Francisco Gates Lester Black. Drug dealing executives, how potheads fell in love with LinkedIn. Has LinkedIn quietly become cannabis industry's hottest social media network? When it comes to topics on weed, other leading social media platforms have all lost major steam in the engagement race to the place once known to many as Facebook for Squares. Increased censorship and restrictive platform policies on usage and marketing cannabis has left business people, thought and influencers no choice but to take their talents elsewhere. And it makes a lot more sense if you actually think about it. Medical and adult use legislation swept the nation over the last several years, leading to a glut of new weed jobs available across the supply chain. As mainstream Americans get increasingly fed up with traditional shittiness and monotony in their respective lanes, it's only natural to migrate into ours. The top 3 platforms you think would be a natural fit for online stoners, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, have all droves over for the greener pastures of what SF Gate says has become the best place online to see experts talk about growing pot, making exotic cannabis hash, or selling millions of dollars of weed. The best part about all this? LinkedIn doesn't mind being the cool parent who'd rather you smoke weed at their house than out in the streets with all your hood rat friends. The Microsoft-owned company admits it rarely even moderates cannabis content. A spokesperson for the company confirmed in the article, users are more than welcome to talk openly about weed business on the network. Members come to LinkedIn every day to share knowledge, insights, and perspectives around the world of work and their particular industries, which can include the cannabis industry. Industry operators on all levels have not only tested LinkedIn's hospitality, they've taken full advantage, with some companies now considering it a red flag when hiring candidates don't have a heavily detailed profile. Joyce Canale, the CEO of Sonoma Hills Farm and a co-founder of Cannabis Media Council, says if you're on social media and cannabis, you're on LinkedIn, the most important social media network for the cannabis industry. Dustin Hawksworth, who owns a marketing company and magazine called Fat Nugs, said everything he's done with the magazine is through word of mouth on LinkedIn. It's networking on steroids and the number one place to be for social media when it comes to cannabis. Facebook, TikTok, and IG dug their own graves here. Blocked and deleted posts, restricted accounts, and in some cases, all-out deplatforming are common punishments doled out by the big 3 to cannabis-friendly users with no known consistency in their enforcement practices. It's led to cannabis influencers paying shadow brokers and hackers to regain their access to their accounts. Even the New York State government got blocked from posting educational content on TikTok. I personally haven't been very active on LinkedIn since leaving the corporate world 6 years ago, but definitely have benefited from the network's progressive policies. I logged on randomly about 6 months ago and to finally update my profile pic, which I haven't changed since 2017. At the top of my inbox with about 1 million unread messages was a shout out from an old friend that led me to scoring my current position at Happy Cabbage Analytics. But I know not everybody's happy with the desk jockey migration here. And if you want a good laugh about it, go check out Patrick Marvelius's review of this year's MJ BizCon in High Times. It was titled, "Who the Fuck Are You People?" And he says, if he were ever to be crowned king, he'd charge all the lizard people with high treason and send them to Madagascar to be used in a barbaric gene splicing experimentation. Everyone on LinkedIn. every last damn one of you. Literally. Literary excellence right over there. But I want to know about everybody else in the room. Has LinkedIn got the juice now or no? I'm Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back to High at 9 News.
I actually love this article, Rico, because I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn. I have been for a very long time. It is, in my opinion, the most user-friendly platform for cannabis business operators. And, in the chat, somebody over here mentioned Social Club with Burner. But, I think as much as I'm excited about Social Club, I really think that these pre-existing, long-standing, very reputable, multi-industry incorporating platforms are really going to be where we end up living. I think it's just a matter of time until these platforms wake up and realize that they're losing out on a lot by getting rid of us. So I am very thankful for LinkedIn. There have been people's accounts who have been shut down, so don't think that it's not possible, but I'm a big fan.
I mean, I like LinkedIn. I feel like they don't censor a lot, but I will say that I am being censored by LinkedIn currently because I cannot live stream to my LinkedIn, and LinkedIn will not tell me why. And
that's just poor customer service. I can live stream.
Yeah,
and I understand that. I understand that, but I'm saying that I can't, and they won't tell me why. Not to mention, I think Twitter is probably the best platform for cannabis because there is the least amount of censorship on that platform because I'm currently being censored by LinkedIn. Out of
business in 3 days with
Twitter ain't going out of business. Get out of here. Twitter is not going to go out of business at all. Stop it.
I agree with Manndie. I definitely think that LinkedIn has been a good space for cannabis, at least when it comes to the business side of things. I'm sure it's not the greatest platform out there for cultivators, but I would say that it has been a positive. And if we're going to move past the stigma, we need to be on platforms where people can see us and understand and read our posts and actually become a bit more educated on it. I don't think it's much of a benefit for us not to be out there on, say, something like Burner Social Club or something, because that's not where the general public is.
It's not what? It's not what?
So what? I mean, with Burner's platform, the Social Club thing, man, it's actually been around for a long time and it's repurposed, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know about all that.
All I know is it's going to be mostly just cannabis. Just people on there.
Yeah.
I'm getting weird feedback.
Yeah, I'm confused too. I'm getting it too. Not sure exactly what the hell is going on.
Blame it on Rico.
Go ahead, Manndie. Please finish.
Yeah, well, sorry, I kind of got distracted by the sound, but ultimately I think that Social Club, it's not general public enough, right? This is what I say all the time from a marketing standpoint. If weed businesses are only marketing to current weed customers, you're going to go out of business. And so you need to be going into platforms where the people who are not using cannabis yet, but maybe curious or have friends who are using it and they want to know a little bit more about it. Over time and frequent exposure in the general marketplace, people's oh my goshness is going to start to calm down. And we can't keep hiding out in only cannabis environments. We have to keep pushing the envelope in these mainstream settings, but we need to do it in really respectful ways. And I feel like LinkedIn does this beautiful job of painting the picture of what's happening in our industry from a business standpoint, right?
But
people actually care about our economy. And so in LinkedIn, that information lives. Social Club is really into a place to sell your weed online. And, all props to Burner, but I mean, he's the one, or his team is the one posting, 5 times a day. My phone only gets blown up with Burner posts all day long. I don't really see anybody else, or very few.
Interesting. I mean, don't you think though, too, Manndie, that the LinkedIn, as far as being the main cannabis social page, is more chatty and bratty as opposed to the real culture of cannabis?
You're saying Social Club is the real culture?
No, I think Instagram is the real culture.
I think that Instagram is, I don't think anywhere is anyone's culture, because cannabis fits multiple cultures, right? What cannabis is to me is going to be different to Chris, is going to be different to Gretchen, right? Someone actually said this.
That's
I
just
don't
because
remember.
of where Gretchen lives.
Well, I wish I had screenshots yesterday, but someone's Instagram page caught me with a little quote yesterday that I thought was just so true. And it's that, and I'm paraphrasing here, I'm going to butcher it a tiny bit, but basically it was like, cannabis lifestyle doesn't fit you. Cannabis fits you. You don't fit it, right? So there's a different way for you to incorporate cannabis in your life, no matter what kind of lifestyle you have. So lifestyle on IG is subjective, and it really comes down to like how you choose to incorporate it in your world. Some people use cannabis all day long and no one even has any idea, right? Because all their methodology is incredibly discreet. Other people are like waving their joints in the air and dancing around all day long. Like, there's just so many different lifestyles, right? I don't think that cannabis has a lifestyle anymore. It's more about a value system, I think. And the value system really is, do you connect to plant? For me, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that with how much legalization has come about, even if it is medically, but I mean, it's still not legal now in 18 states recreationally. That's going to change the culture. And for those who are grasping and holding on to, oh, this is cannabis culture, and if you don't do it this way that we've been doing it for 40 years hiding in the woods, then you're not a part of this, or you don't understand it, or you can't be a part of this economy moving forward. It's just ridiculous. And those folks are going to be on the list of people going out of business if they don't learn to adapt and try and accept new participants. Like Manndie says, cannabis is different for everyone. And I think the goal here should be access for everyone. It shouldn't be, let's hold on to our dreams behind, hanging out in the woods.
Well, we do have
diversify. We have to diversify our messaging, right? There's not just one consumer out there. There's millions, billions, and we need to be able to address them in whatever platform that they're following. So.
I think LinkedIn generally does a pretty good.
What's that, Chris?
I think LinkedIn generally does a decent job of it. I'm very thankful for LinkedIn. I agree that LinkedIn is a little bit more B2B, and certainly I think is a little bit more, I don't want to say valuable, but easier to use for pick and shovel companies versus actual plant touching companies today, maybe. But I think LinkedIn does a pretty good job. I consume a ton of and learn a lot on LinkedIn from folks that are, like growers or cultivators, like folks that are, in different aspects of this industry than I am. I learn a lot from LinkedIn, and that's why I'm super thankful for LinkedIn. There's a lot of information.
So Chris is all in on LinkedIn. We have Dr. Felicia up from the Clubhouse audience up to talk about this. What do you have to say about this, Dr. Felicia?
Happy New Year, everybody. Briefly, I just want to say that I've been censored on Facebook a time or two, and I'm only talking about cannabis education, CBD occasionally, but on LinkedIn, I've never been censored. And I see a lot of my colleagues who are in the cannabis education space on LinkedIn. So it's been pretty good to us over on LinkedIn. So I just want to say that.
How are they going to?
Well, I'm being censored on LinkedIn right now.
How are they going to censor Dr. Felicia? I hate them already, Doctor. Just saying.
I mean, that's Facebook, bro. That's Meta. That's Instagram. They censor all of us. That's what they do. They shadow ban us all, and you know what I mean? It is what it is.
I'm Dark Zuckerberg.
Dark Zuckerberg. Oh my goodness.
Taking this shit over.
Oh my God. Here we go.
This spicy red-headed conservative with Mayflower roots made a pilgrimage south to Washington long ago to mix in with locals, become well known in the right DC circles, and she made her way to their hearts through their bellies. And now she mixes it up every day on K Street with pot-loving libs across the aisle. Y'all give it up for the founder of Panoptic Strategies and our very own Washington insider, Gretchen, the comrade, Gailey.
Good afternoon. I would like to start out wishing everyone a happy new year. And I will let you know that every day I'm going to give us, well, I guess you can't read this because it's backwards, but that's a two.
You got to click on your settings, Gretchen, and click mirror screen.
That's a
click
two.
Mirror screen.
Anyway, that's a 2 for Jason Beck for 2 days past paying up on his debts. And every day we will get an update on Jason Beck paying his debts. Anyway, my headline, of course, is coming from my favorite publication, Marijuana Moment. And good old Biden decided to hand out a few more bullshit pardons. Here we go. As Biden issues a handful of new marijuana and drug pardons, advocates demand he release current prisoners. President Joe Biden granted a half dozen pardons on Friday, including for a handful of people with marijuana or other drug convictions on their records. The end-of-year clemency action follows the mass pardon for Americans who've committed federal cannabis possession offenses, and the president issued in October. Advocates would welcome any form of presidential relief and celebrate the formal forgiveness for a few people who were previously convicted of offenses like unknowingly renting housing space to a person growing marijuana, as the White House said was the case for now pardoned John Dix Knox III. But at the same time, the president continues to face pressure to make good on his campaign pledge to free all currently incarcerated people serving time for federal marijuana crimes. And this latest batch of pardons did not include any of the people still behind bars over the plant. Besides 72-year-old Knox, the president also pardoned 50-year-old Edward Lincoln DeCoyo III, an Army veteran who was convicted in a marijuana trafficking case in his early 20s. Gary Parks Davis also received a pardon for a decades-old cocaine conviction. This set of pardons includes individuals who honorably served in the U.S. military, volunteer in their communities, and survived domestic abuse, according to White House Assistant Press Secretary Abdullah Hassan. It also joins the categorical pardon of thousands convicted of simple marijuana possession Biden announced earlier this year. Biden has received ample applause for his earlier marijuana pardon, which affected about 6,500 Americans with federal possession offenses, in addition to people convicted for the offense in Washington, D.C., according to the U.S. Sentencing Commission. But advocates and lawmakers have encouraged him to go further, even if he's unwilling to back federal cannabis legalization. Weldon Angelos, who received a presidential pardon under the Trump administration for a marijuana-related conviction, has since become an active member of the criminal justice reform community, working with multiple administrations. He told Marijuana Moment on Friday that Biden's latest action is very disappointing pardon grant. He pointed out that several recipients are in older age, making the clemency gesture more symbolic than practical, as thousands continue to sit in federal prison over marijuana. He said, "I was deeply disappointed that President Biden has done this and has not honored his campaign promise to grant mass clemency to people that are needlessly suffering in prison for a cannabis conviction. Pardons are definitely nice, especially for people that need the pardon. If you're a young person that can't get a job or an apartment or a loan, yeah, pardons are very good. We need those. But there are people that are literally sitting in prison, most of whom would not even be charged today because of changes to state and federal law and policy. We need to focus on the people that are sitting in prison. And I hope that Biden will continue to grant more. I'm hoping that we're going to see a lot more. It's just disappointing that he hasn't done that much to this date." Angelos added that he has received multiple calls on Friday from currently incarcerated people who were hoping to receive clemency over the holiday season. Meanwhile, Biden and top administration officials have continued to tout his October pardons for the past several weeks. Well, just like Jason Beck, Biden's all talk, no show. So it would be nice. It would be nice if we could see the pardons happen and the promises that Joe Biden made. I suspect if Joe Biden does run for re-election, that perhaps these campaign promises will maybe come to fruition in October in 2 more years. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
Yeah, right. Keep dreaming. You know what? Weldon Angelos actually sent out some tweets, and I want to read those because I think this speaks volumes to your article, Gretchen. He says, Biden announces year-end pardons for 6 people, mostly drug or alcohol-related offenses. CBS News. Come on, Joe Biden. Let's get serious on clemencies for those incarcerated for cannabis. And in the second tweet, he says, an 80-year-old doesn't need a pardon. Someone who is sitting in prison does. Or someone whose life is negatively impacted by a felony conviction and can't get a job, loan, or a home because of it. These are George W. Bush pardons. So much for campaign promises. From our very own Weldon Angelos. What do you got to say about that?
Weldon nails it. I mean, he's 100% right in that statement. It is a bunch of bullshit. Whether it's naive or not, I tend to always be a bit of an idealist, and I tend to always hope for the best. At least that's what I manifest on. And Gretchen, my prediction has been since the beginning of last election, which is on the second term when they go to run, that's when they're going to kick this in. It's going to be just a couple of weeks before election day, I'm sure.
So you think Joe Biden can run?
No, I don't think he's going to run, but I think our party's
Right,
going to run. And or not.
Right, bikes.
You think he's going to be the Democratic nominee, is what you're saying? You went on mute, Manndie.
And yeah, nominees. Anyway, my point is this: they're probably going to move this initiative forward much heavier handedly as you know when we get closer to an election.
I don't think so. I don't think Joe
Biden
is
foolish
about
not
that.
to. They would be foolish.
He would definitely be foolish not to, but I mean, he's foolish every day. Do you see the things that come out of his mouth?
It's just okay. I'm not even talking about fucking party needs to step up and realize that this is a big step in the right direction to win again. Period.
I mean, most of the people in this party just do it to placate to voters, and then voters buy into their BS, and then they do absolutely nothing, which is why since the Democrats held at all three branches of government, they got absolutely nothing done in Congress for us.
You got to give it to
You cut out, Rico.
Got to get
Rico,
to it.
you froze up on us.
God damn it.
You said
Try
you got to
again.
give it to.
Try again.
I'm gonna refresh this bitch. I was like, you got to give it to Joe Biden, man. He's got to have a stomach of steel because he eats ice cream for every meal.
Oh God. Oh jeez. You know, oh man. On that note, let's take pay a quick bill so we can get back to the news.
Was he not?
When you want to grow some of the best weed in the world, then you must start with the best genetics in the world. Go to www.dnagenetics.shop to order regular, feminized, or autoflower beans. All of your favorite DNA genetics cultivars such as Kosher Kush, Skywalker Kush, and oh yeah, Chocolate Truffle Shuffle. Boasting more cannabis awards for their award-winning genetics than any other company in the world. Remember to go to www.dnagenetics.shop to see why our terps don't lie.
The thoughts, opinions, and shade thrown in High at Nine News are those of the individual speakers and not those of any other speaker or his followers. The statements made in any country, area, or territory or its authorities. The views expressed in this room do not establish any fiduciary relationship or responsibility. Our sponsors do not imply or constitute any endorsement by us or the expression of any opinion whatsoever by the part of any speaker on stage. If you're an easily offended person, call Joe Biden.
Call Joe Biden. Oh man, he's not even going to answer his phone. Flying into LAX, and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX, located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention you'd like to get high at 9 for 10% off your full order.
Our next correspondent is a fellow dope dad who decided to trade in his issue gun and badge for a blunt and a notepad. When out on stage, he's with us reading other weed news. This former cops and security consultant at CC Security Solutions, dedicating each day to improving your chances of survivability. Rather than waiting on safe banking to get past, he's going to come to the stage and read our next story in the first one of the new year. Mr. Chris Eggers, what you have for us today, my man?
Rico Lamitte, man, always with the fire intros. Hello, everybody, all my fellow correspondents. Happy Monday and Happy New Year. This is a follow-up article to something I reported on a couple weeks ago. Alabama Daily News. The Cannabis Commission receives 94 applications. So upon Friday's deadline, the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission said it received 94 applications for the medical marijuana business licenses. There are several different license types that the commissions will award and grant and then regulate. There were 12 applications for cultivator licenses, 12 for processors, 18 for dispensary, 11 for secure transport. Oh, wow, 11 for secure transport, 3 for state testing laboratory laboratory and 38 for integrated facility licenses. The commission is scheduled to award these licenses for each of these categories at their June meeting. Once the business license have been issued, physicians may begin the certification process to recommend medical cannabis to qualified patients, which I think we had some good comments last time about the wording. So it looks like they may have improved that here. Under Alabama's 2021 medical marijuana law, the commission may award up to 12 cultivator licenses, 4 processor licenses, 4 dispensary licenses, and 5 integrated facility licenses. The law did not specify how many secure transport and state testing laboratory licenses can and will be awarded. The commission has partnered. This is pretty interesting. I think I really like this. The commission has partnered with the University of South Alabama on the application and evaluation process. According to a statement, university researchers will review, evaluate, and score business line applications. So I don't know. I couldn't find any information whether this period has closed, but you could apply to be an evaluator. They will send you an email asking you to sign a couple of disclosures and various other things. But once you submit an application, you could put your name in the hat to be an evaluator in one of these various categories. Now, John McMillan, the commission director, said in a statement in this article, quote, "The commission spent much of 2022 laying the groundwork for Alabama's medical cannabis industry by drafting rules and regulations, obtaining software tracking systems, and developing the business applications. We are excited to utilize the strong framework we put together to implement a safe and operational medical cannabis industry as we move into 2023. That's my article today. Bit of a follow-up from, I believe it was last week or the week before, but I think it's pretty cool that they're partnering with the University of South Alabama and allowing other folks, industry insiders, experts, etc., to be in part evaluators in this process. My name is Chris Eggers. Thanks for letting me report this morning at the High at 9 News Hour.
Well, Chris, it sounds like since they only received 3 testing lab applications, it sounds like all those 3 people are probably going to be guaranteed a license.
Yeah, unless there's one. It didn't say that, and secure transport didn't say what the cap was. So, but yeah, only 3. That was
you're gonna need more than 3 in a state the size of Alabama.
How many manufacturing licenses again?
So there's there's gonna be 12 applications for cultivators, 12 for processing, 18 dispensary, 11 for secure transport, 3 for state laboratory testing, and 38 integrated facility licenses total.
So integrated facility, does that just mean vertically integrated?
Vertically integrated, yeah. So everything outside of testing, Manndie.
So I didn't hear a manufacturing. I'm assuming Lou lumped in somewhere in there.
Yeah, he mentioned manufacturing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't hear how many.
How many was it, Chris? How many manufacturing?
A dozen.
12. So a dozen manufacturing facilities with 3 labs, and how many cultivations?
12.
That's actually enough.
Well, and we don't know that all 12 of these folks are getting licenses either.
Of course they are. If it's 38, if they're giving out 38 licenses.
Easy, killer, easy. They might not be qualified, so they might not just give out a license just because you showed up and handed them some paper.
I mean, it's Alabama.
We're talking about Alabama.
I understand it's Alabama. We also need to remember, I think the bigger issue is going to be that these places, the testing labs, whoever, that this stuff is distributed across the state. Alabama is a pretty big state, but it's also very rural. There's only 5 million people in Alabama total, and the cities aren't very large. So I think they're going to have to really look at this from a more regional perspective. When they're issuing these licenses and put them in places that make sense. So if you're in northern Alabama, you get what you need. And if you're in southern Alabama, you do as well. They need to spread it out. It can't just be based off there has to be real thought put into this a bit more.
Put in the earmark. They are the pork barrel capital of the world out there in Alabama.
And isn't it?
Go ahead, Dr. Felicia.
Aren't they just offering low THC CBD oil like Georgia? So if it's just like one product, would you need as many laboratories?
I'm not aware of that, Dr. Felicia. Chris, did you see anything about them having any type of caps on THC percentages in there?
Nope, not in this article or the one.
Not in that article, but I thought I remembered when they first passed their medical program that it's very similar to Georgia, just low THC CBD oil, if I recall correctly.
Interesting. I mean, you are the closest person to there of everyone on stage. Dr. Felicia.
Well, and
Yeah,
perhaps,
that's what struck me. That's what struck me because
Yeah.
they're so similar to us.
perhaps Alabama is actually being progressive in their thinking, realizing they're not going to need 42 cultivators because they're going to get interstate commerce and they're going to be bringing in some wonderful cannabis from the state of California.
What
And
dream world are you living in, Gretchen?
I'm hopeful. It's a new year. Let's have some little hope for the
It's
industry.
a new
in the
year, hope, huh? Yeah, that we're gonna start a new strain called Hope for Gretchen. Yeah, they're gonna start selling it in DC at the little trap shops that she shops at.
Hey.
Unicorn tears.
Maybe they'll
Well,
put
that's
Joe
just
Biden's
legal
face on it.
nowadays.
Hope.
which one?
He'll be eating a ice cream cone or something.
Hilarious.
Oh man,
so creepy.
I mean, this stuff is crazy to me. You know, Alabama. I just, you know, I'm really am excited because I thought Alabama would be one of the last states to actually do this. And so I am. Yeah, I'm surprised that. Yeah, I mean, I thought Alabama would have been before or after Idaho, but I mean, Idaho is apparently proving to be one of the most conservative states in the entire country.
Like on Earth.
Yeah, that's in the country. That is Earth.
Idaho. I could go on forever.
I mean,
what about
tell us about your Idaho experience, Manndie.
I'm not.
That's South Dakota.
I'm saying that's pretty fucking conservative.
Idaho is going to be the very last. That's my prediction. They'll be the very last. Actually, the federal government will legalize it, and Idaho will still hell no.
Just like
so they'll be like the Utah when it comes to cannabis.
Oh,
Utah's more progressive than Idaho. Is what are you talking about?
But Idaho is the most oppressive when it comes to alcohol in the entire country, and so that's why I'm saying is that Idaho is going to be what Utah is with alcohol. Idaho will be with cannabis.
Either way, I love that Alabama's doing this. I wish Texas would get on board. Maybe Texas will see what's going on in Alabama and maybe finally push them over the edge. I don't know what Texas is waiting for. Talk about a freak show, Texas. I wish Liz or Stone were here to help defend their.
It's because the attorney general down there in Texas runs the motherfucking show.
I mean, I thought no, he's the lieutenant governor.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, he's the lieutenant governor.
Well, and plus they have a weird legislature that only meets every 2 years. But
interesting. Interesting. All right. Well, we're gonna keep it moving. Thank you so much for that, Chris. We really appreciate that story and that update on all that, because it was only 6 licenses prior to, right? There are 6 applications that they had received just days before.
No.
And they got all the way up to the 90s.
No, last week they had like 91. They got 3 more.
No. Was that what it was? Only 3 more this week?
No. They only got like 6. They only had like 6 applications.
You're crazy.
Bet on it.
How much you want to bet, Jason Beck?
You know what I bet with you, Gretchen? $100.
Oh God.
you trying to quit a job and win bet.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start betting Gretchen all day. All of a sudden, Panoptic Strategy is gonna be working for me.
Hostile takeover.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, take that, Elon. Let me show you how we do a hostile takeover over here on the West Coast. Yes.
Let that sink in.
Yeah, exactly. But coming up next, she's a cannabis product extraordinaire, a serial cannapreneur, and the owner of Camilla Cannagram, cannamommy.org, and the Woman's Canna Awards competition. She's an Emerald Cup edibles judge, and she's in searching the globe for the perfect cannabis and psychedelic edible experiences that you could possibly explore. As a crusader for female entrepreneurs, Manndie also loves showing the world how cannabis, motherhood, and an executive lifestyle all go hand in hand. It is none other than the Manndie Tingler.
Appreciate it. So my article today is what rules are in California for citizens who choose to consume cannabis. The article comes out of my hometown, the Southeast. The article's title is "Can I smoke weed in a public place, here's a refresher on California cannabis law. This is good for everybody, but let's be really honest. We don't all pay attention to everything that's happening. So now you'll know. While Beshear will usher in new laws, the cannabis landscape of California will remain the same for now. In 2024, cannabis users will get more protection from their employers smoking outside of work. In time, here's a refresher on where you can use weed in California. California recently passed a new cannabis bill to employees from weed buys, but it'll be a while before it goes into effect. A 2188 bans discriminating against employees based on their use of weed on the job and away from the workplace. It includes the hiring, employment, and termination process. There are exceptions to the law, including people who work in the construction, building industry, or positions that require federal background clearances. And while it protects off-duty smoking, employers still have the right to fire or suspend employees for using weed or being while at work. While the bill was signed by Governor Gavin Newsom in September, it won't be active until January 2024. Recreational cannabis use has been legal since 2016, but only for those 21 years and older. Those under 18 who are caught with weed are subject to drug education or counseling and community service. People who are older than 18 but under 21 will be fined up to $100. That said, minors can apply for a medical marijuana identification card to get weed for medicinal purposes. In California, children under 18 can apply as a patient if they are emancipated or have declared self-sufficiency status, according to the Department of Health. If they do not have this status, then the county will contact the individual's parent guardian. There's a limit to how much cannabis you can have on hand in California, according to the state's health and safety code. Penalized if you 28.5 grams of weed or more than 8 grams of concentrated cannabis, essentially about 1 ounce. Individuals under 18 who violate this code will be required to do drug education, counseling, and community service. Those over 18 will be imprisoned in a county jail for up to 6 months. That's essentially an ounce. You could go and be imprisoned. If you're caught with weed on school campus that teaches kids from kindergarten to grade 12 during open hours, expect a hefty fine. People 18 and over carrying up to 28.5 grams of cannabis or 8 grams concentrated cannabis will be fined up to $250 for the first offense, and up to $500 or imprisonment for the following offenses. You do need to sell weed in California. Other than that, exchanging weed for money is illegal. You can, however, gift marijuana products to your loved ones without a license. It's illegal to smoke weed in public. If you're caught, you can be fined up to $100 and up to $250 if you're in an area smoking tobacco is prohibited. Penalties if you're smoking within 1,000 feet of daycares, schools, and other centers were present. National parks, state parks, and residential areas do not allow cannabis use. You also cannot smoke, consume products, or have an open container or package while driving or riding boat. Travel across state lines with cannabis, even coming to and from a state that legalizes marijuana, is prohibited. At airports, weed law can get complex. Since it's legal in California, some airports, such as the International Airport and Sac National Airport, might allow you to bring a legal amount of up to 28.5 grams. Once you reach the Transportation Security Administration, however, federal regulations will come into play, and under federal law, weed is illegal. If a TSA officer finds any potential violations of the law, they can report it to local state authorities. They will then determine you can proceed with traveling with the cannabis product. What's interesting about this article is there's actually a Google form at the bottom of it that says, what questions do you have for the California utility team? And you can ask all sorts of lovely things about cannabis rules here in California. But that, my friends, is your New Year's California Cannabis Law Refresher Course. I'm Manndie Tingler at 9 News.
Manndie, you said that they said that you just can't have an open container of cannabis on a plane?
Right.
Did they really say that?
It said in the article, it says that you cannot have an open container.
So is that a government agency that is manning the website that you're sourcing?
It's Sacramento Bee.
No. I mean the website that you said that if they want to ask a question they go to, is that a government website?
Oh yeah, it's at the bottom of the article and it goes to the.
Yeah, see, I would ask the state that just for clarification. I would ask them that. I was like, hey, the Sacramento Bee says this. Is this true?
Okay. Not a bad. I think I will.
I think we should. I want to see what they're going to say.
This is going to lead to a lawsuit.
It's illegal to get it onto the plane, so I don't understand if it matters if it's open or not.
I just asking just because like just the fact that it's even mentioned. I want to ask this question now.
No one
because
in Sacramento
I would just expect
Airport,
them not to say it.
Yeah.
I would just expect them not to say it.
I haven't had a problem in a single airport anywhere ever, but I've also probably been a little lucky. So.
I've definitely had some interactions in airports before. Some of them have been fucking pretty crazy. I got wrapped up like a candy cane by a dog leash one time. Coming from the Canadian border. Yeah, like I almost fell over.
Was it red or was it green?
You look very threatening, Jason. I'm just saying.
The dog was scared. The candy. It was me. I was me. Of course, it was a red candy cane. Like, come on, cut it out.
I'm always chatting up TSA and asking them, hey, how do you deal with this? And consistently, they've all said the same thing. Listen, we're here to look for weapons and things like that. Yeah. We don't get paid enough to look beyond that scope, which I appreciate. Right.
That part is true. That part is true, but at the same time, if you get someone that's bored and wants to do something or feels like they need to find something in order to boost their profile amongst their superior or something, and they find something like that on you, don't think that you are exempt and whatnot, because they definitely have the ability to do that to you.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
Yep.
Don't be that guy.
And also too, I question a lot of these rules, Mandy, because these rules are only as strong as they are enforceable.
Yep.
Okay. And so smoking, like I don't see anyone getting busted for smoking weed in different places or whatnot. You could possibly, if it's in a car, and get a DUI, stuff like that. In California, I have seen that happen a few times, but I wonder if this is going to bring some type of new thing for the Karens involved with the fact that just being on school grounds, like if you're a parent and you go and pick up your kid from school and you just happen to have an eighth of weed in your glove box,
right?
Then technically, that's my point. That technically you could be subject to this fine.
Yeah.
How does TSA has a 95% failure rate, like with people getting shit through there? Like what gives them the right to pat me the fuck down?
Yeah.
The right is the fact that you want to travel in federal airspace, and they're a federal agent, and so if you want to travel in federal airspace, that gives them that right.
Listen, if I unloaded my car every single time I went to go pick up my kids, I'd be late in the carpool line every day.
Right.
Right.
I just have a feeling. I have a feeling there's going to be like some small town somewhere, some parents going to be in some PTA fight with another parent, and they're going to find out that they're a weed smoker, and then they're going to snitch out to the cops, and the cops are going to like stop them because they pulled off too fast or something stupid, didn't use their turn signal or some ridiculousness, and then they're going to say that they smell weed, search the car, find some gummies like what they did with Dogface, and then all of a sudden they're in trouble.
Listen, I just want to put this out there. This literally last week with me. I was at Macy's at the local mall here, and one of the cashiers started having a grand mal seizure as he was checking someone out. And I happened to have CBD in my purse. I saw him falling. I knew exactly what was happening right in the moment. And I just dropped my stuff, grabbed my CBD. I ran around the counter and literally gave him some of it. And he stopped seizing within like 5 seconds. Can you imagine? Like, he was so thankful afterwards. If I didn't have that on me, who knows what would have happened? Like, and that's the second time that this has ever happened. So I don't know what people are so afraid of. We can walk around with cigarettes in our pouches and all kinds of pills, like,
right.
A little bit.
Exactly. I mean, I just think it's crazy, and I don't understand You know, some of these things I think do make a little bit of sense. But some of these things just make no sense. I mean, I understand we want to keep it away from kids, but this seems like a major overreach. I think it would be more appropriate that if you're caught consuming with a child or giving a child or providing for a child cannabis while on campus, then I think you should go to jail.
Can you smoke in the smoking lounges in airports? You know, like how some airports have like a little like smoking area and shit. Can you smoke weed in there?
Yes, I do.
You can.
I have a question for Chris. Back in your law enforcement days, I mean, were you getting many calls to come out for people smoking cannabis? And did you really care? Is this something you're like, hey, I get to arrest someone for smoking?
No, absolutely not. Didn't care. The areas that I worked, you know, quality of life is how you might categorize, you know, smoking, things like that, dog barking. Was not super high priority. There were a lot of random calls though. You get calls for anything. One of the calls was that we would get every single day in the Tenderloin was at this park, and they would complain about the kids being too loud in the park. And that would, I don't understand how that call would even make it to the board, right? But like we would just disregard it and never obviously go. Same thing, same sort of stance with smoking. You know, it's like if you're on Market Street and some anonymous 911 caller calls in because they walked by in between Montgomery and Powell BART station and smelled, you know, cannabis, not something we're going to deal with.
It happens all the time, bro.
But people call the police for all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, people call the police for no reason a lot of the times too.
Yeah,
which
it's one of the only extensions of the government you can reach out and like touch, and I think that's a piece of it. You know, like there's people.
Now, in regards with the airports, because we've talked a little bit about this, and I want to make sure that people, just because some airports like LAX, Oakland, San Jose, San Francisco, maybe even Sacramento have a lot looser policies, not all airports are the same. So know where you're going. So just for an example, not too far away from us here in California, we have Las Vegas Airport. You are not allowed to step foot even into Las Vegas Airport with any cannabis whatsoever. They have a little amnesty box out in the front, and if you walk inside with cannabis, you are subject to get popped for it.
Fuck TSA.
What's that process look like? Has anyone gone through it?
It's a municipal process. It's a Las Vegas. You'll get a ticket from the Clark County Sheriff's Department, and then you'll have a court date and have a fine. Maybe have to go to some diversion classes or something. Who knows what they're doing right now? But Clark County does prosecute that.
Yeah, performative fucking security. Shit out of here, man. Make America strong again, Jason.
Yep, I had them take some weed out of my bag one time. This is how I know this. They took some weed out of my bag, out of my suitcase, out of the checked-in luggage, and left a little note, and then left me a ticket saying, hey, we're not gonna fine you for this, but just know and tell all your friends that you cannot fly with weed at all in Vegas Airport.
Haters.
That's weird. I do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I'm sure everybody does. You know,
I bet they never stop for all the dildos that come through there from Vegas.
Question: if you get you get these $100 fines in California, right? And then what happens if you don't pay them? I mean, they're non-violent cannabis crimes. So
it goes on your credit and goes to collections.
Not only that, but some agencies.
Let's see that happen. I'd love to see what that is on my credit report. Actually,
it'll show up as a ticket from the state that you haven't paid. It won't say specify for what. It'll show up as like you owe the state money. You have outstanding fines.
Fuck Experian.
That'd be hilarious.
All right.
Let's ride it out.
That was a great show, everybody. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Manndie, for that story and keeping us up to date on the news. Of new things that go into effect in January. That's right. Don't say you haven't been warned. Exactly. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry itself. Thank you to all our haters because, after all, you know we have the most immaculate pads rent-free in your heads, all for free. So thank you for that. Huge thank you to our sponsors, True Classic, LAXCC, and DNA Genetics for helping us keep everything rolling. And thank you to our correspondents for absolutely, truly amazing and happy New Year's to everyone out there. Thank you all to Cannabis for giving us a reason to do this. And thank you, Cloud Media Partners, House of Fuego, one of the new groups that we're working with, and Zaza Simone holding it down in Clubhouse for us. And thank you to Cannabis for making sure that we can do this every day. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us, America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Run it, Adam.